ఓం శ్రీ మాత్రే నమః. ఓం గంగణపతే నమః. Vedas teaches everything. Whatever we follow now on this earth, prescribed from Vedas only. It is called Veda Vihita Dharmas. According to Veda only, we used to worship mother and father and teacher and guests. Similarly, Matrudevo Bhava, Pitrudevo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava. Vedic theory is called everything. Everything is hidden in Vedic theory. We cannot underestimate the essence of Vedas and its definitions. No one can give total explanation to Vedas. It is a divine subject. Through materialization, passing through barriers and other ways, we can understand the essence of Vedic theory, which is made for everything. To find out the absolute truth, Vedic theory is one of the tool to understand the essence of God, the power of God, the purpose of the creation of God, and each and everything, the yogic powers and so on, can be totally understood more than science through Vedic theory. So, basing on all those things, today I took the topic of Vedic theory of everything. Let us start with prayer. Namaste, Namaste, Vibhu Vishwamurti. Namaste, Namaste, Chandanandamurti. Namaste, Namaste, Tapo Yoga Gamya. Namaste, Namaste, Shruti Jnana Gamya. Embedded in all religious books, particularly in Vedas, has a following description of truth. If you investigate Bible carefully, you will also find the same definition. The definition of truths. The laws of nature are the only truths. Objects of nature and their characteristics define these laws. Nature has a unique characteristics that it always demonstrates its laws. What is the laws of nature? Vedas, as well as all religious books, including Bible and from Judaism, describe the following laws of nature for the entire universe. These laws are eternal, which means they are valid for all past, present and future times. Most well known of these laws are soul theory, yogic powers, reincarnation, destiny, eternal recurrence, memory in the universe, etc. More traditional laws which are known more or less to the scientific communities are also in those books. Cause and effect, existence and non-existence, boundedness of objects, simultaneously birth, maturity, death process for all objects, including the universe, uniqueness of all objects, periodicity, etc. It is not a philosophy. Since nature demonstrates all its laws, therefore, you must observe the nature to verify if a phenomenon is a truth or not. Just like Galileo did. millions of people for millions of years and all over the world have observed and experienced those laws. There is a large volume of well revealed, many of them. These laws are unique, universal, and eternal. Uniqueness means these laws cannot contradict each other. Universal means if it is valid on Earth, it will be valid in Mars or any other planets in the universe. If it is valid in USA, then it will be valid in China also. They are eternal in the sense that if a law was valid a million years back, then it will be valid even now and will remain valid for all future times. Knowledge of modern science and technology cannot change these laws. It must be recognized that Vedas and all religions are not a philosophy to change. Philosophy is not valid when truth is unique and universal, where no speculation is possible. Moreover, all the laws described above can be and have been observed in nature by humans, and therefore Vedas is real and not a subject of any philosophical discourse. Modern literature. There is a book named Grand Design, written by the celebrated physicist Stephen Hawking, which has a chapter on the theory of everything. There he claims philosophy is dead. That is correct in one sense, because philosophers do not have any definition for truth and definitely is unique and universal. But unfortunately, Hawking came to the same conclusion that the truth is model based and different models will give different truth. He recommends M theory as the ultimate result with the following comments. People are still trying to decipher the nature of M theory, but that may not be possible. It could be that physicists' traditional expectation of a single theory of nature is untenable, and there exists no single formulation. It must be pointed out that M theory does not address any of the above laws of nature. Even all physicists believe that people have free will. Mathematicians and anesthesiologists believe that consciousness somehow emerges from complex computation among simple neurons, which each receive and integrate synaptic inputs to a threshold for bit-like firing. Notice the word somehow, and they admit that how the brain produces consciousness remains a mystery. They also believe that humans have free will, as we will see that soul controls the brain and it is not the other way. In literature, consciousness is treated as a noun, which it is not. Understand that, like energy and light, Consciousness is also an adjective. An adjective cannot exist in nature on its own. It requires the sun, which is a noun. Similarly, light requires an electric light bulb. The noun for consciousness is the soul. Soul has many other properties besides consciousness. It creates reincarnation, destiny, and yogic power, among other things. Contents. Let us see the remaining part of the paper is organized in the following broad categories. First, we discuss yogic power. Why? Which is the foundation of Vedas and all religions. Second, then we cover Sankhya theory, which is essentially is a soul theory. This has many subsections. Root material and root cause and effect law. We cover two types of objects that exist in nature: manifested and unmanifested. Next, we characterize the soul and mention that we are controlled by our soul and not by our brain. Then we describe the Sankhya theory of creation and the characteristics of the objects that nature creates. In this section, we talk about the reincarnation law. Give some examples that people have observed and documented. We also describe the Sankhya theory behind reincarnation. Finally, we briefly cover destiny law in two parts: global and individual destiny. We show that the destiny is precisely predictable by any high level yogi, and therefore we cannot have free will. Eternal recurrences then gives a higher level picture of destiny. It is more than a science. How? Let us find out. Is Veda scientific? Most people will say Veda is religion. But that is not true. There is no God in Vedas, and Hinduism does not obey Vedas. Veda is called eternal laws or Sanatana Dharma in Sanskrit. Many people will translate dharma as religion, which is not correct. At least not in the context of Vedas. Vedas are not a philosophy either. The definition of truth given above came from Vedas. Philosophy is not helpful when truth is unique and universal. Galileo observed the nature using his telescope. He did not do any experiment or create any math to prove his theory. If his method is scientific, then observing nature with or without yogic power must be scientific too. The ancient times, all scientists were called yogis. Now, let us discuss the structure of theories. All theories that humans have developed. both for mathematics and physics, have the following structure. If these assumptions are invalid for both and nature and engineering, therefore no theory can be correct or verifiable. That is, no experiment can verify such theories. We point out that the laws listed above do not carry any assumptions. Thus, Veda is more than science. We define engineering as a process that deals with the objects of nature. Therefore, engineering is a part of nature. All engineering experiments will automatically reject all assumptions. No theory can be validated. Assumptions are sufficient conditions for the results, but not necessary. One basic and most common assumption is infinity, which is invalid in nature, but is all pervasive in all theories. For example, in probability theory, Hilbert space Fourier transforms, Laplace transform, etc. Replacing infinity by a finite number, large or small, will drastically change the characteristics of all theories. Another common assumption is isolated environment, which is impossible because every object has a soul and all souls are interconnected. No explanations. In general, a robot cannot do any experiment and learn about humans. This is so because humans created the robots. Robots must observe the humans to learn about the humans. Similarly, humans cannot do any experiment to learn about the nature because nature created the humans. Humans must also observe the nature to learn about nature, just like Galileo did. Creations cannot know the creator. Physics or humans cannot explain anything about nature. Consider the case of eclipse. Do we really know why it happens? You can say yes, because objects rotate around each other. But then why do they rotate? Otherwise, they will fall on each other. Then why they will fall? Because of gravity. But isn't that gravity, force attracts, etc. are synonyms? Thus, we do not know what gravity is, then we also do not know why eclipse happens. If we ask a series of such questions, we will have to come to a stop at some point and accept the final answer as a law of nature without further explanation. Let us have a view on yogic powers. We are all yogis. We are not our bodies, not even our brains. We are our souls. Our soul controls everything in our body. This power of our soul is the yogic power. The very fact that we are the walking, talking, hearing, seeing, etc. are the results of command from our soul to our brain, as we will discuss later. So we are always connected to our souls, and therefore we are yogis and have some built built-in yogic powers. We will be dead if the soul leaves our body. Through yogic meditation, we can enhance our yogic power and make it work for us whenever we want and the way we want. However, as long as it is not included in our individual destiny, things will never happen. Destiny guides everything. We are not free and we are robots. There are kids who are born with some limited but highly specialized yogic powers. A 9-year-old artistic girl could read and write every detail of her mother's actions and thoughts. A world champion chess player could play with 10 chess players simultaneously, all sitting behind his back. And he would still defeat them all. Thus, yogic power is real. We see it everywhere once we are observant. Such examples also demonstrate that memory is not in our brain, it is in nature, and our souls know how to access it and then inform our brains to take appropriate actions. You probably know the miracles that placebo can do. It has been found that all diseases can be cured by giving a placebo. The power of our mind, which is same as the power of our soul, or yogic power. Swami Rama says that the entire body is inside our mind, but not other way. Thus, by controlling our mind, you can control anything inside our body. There are many people all over the world who has never gone to see a doctor and yet maintain a perfectly good health with long life. Such people are also yogis by birth. In fact, a yogi cannot become sick. The converse is also true. That is, if you are sick, then you are not a yogi. There are some normal people with good health but die peacefully during their sleep, apparently with heart attack. There are yogis, however, who can cast off their body at the destined time after informing people. They sit in a meditative pose in a scheduled place and consciously leave their body. The next few examples of high-level yogic powers are taken from well-known modern books. By the authors have written many more books. Interested readers should read them to get a better feeling about yogis and yogic powers. Short bios of these authors are given in Materialization. A soul can communicate instantaneously with any soul at any distance without any language barrier, which is like quantum entanglement of particles in physics. Note that a soul has to be smaller than the smallest of all particles, since all objects are created by their individual souls. Passing through barriers, Trilinga Swami always remained completely nude. The harassed police of the holy city of Benares came to regard him as a baffling problem child. The natural Swami, like the early Adam in the Garden of Eden, was utterly unconscious of his nakedness. The police were quite conscious of it, however, and unceremoniously committed him to jail. General embarrassment ensued. The enormous body of Trilinga was soon seen in its usual entirety on the prison roof. His cell, still securely locked, offered no clue to his mode of escape. The Trilinga examples shows that human body can be completely controlled by its soul. A soul can change its body to make it transparent to camera photography, make it heavy so that it cannot be lifted by a machine. Body can be very light so it can float on air and water. Thus, apparently, all the common understanding of the laws of nature, including gravity, as described by modern science, can be changed and demonstrated also. Thus, any theory of everything should be able to demonstrate or explain corresponding or Vedic theory of everything. As mentioned before, nature cannot be explained. It can only be observed. Switching body. A yogi with a very old body realized that the dead body of a young man in very good condition will be floating in a river at a specific location, date, and time. So he went there and switched his old body with that young body, and there and switched his old body with the young body and continued living as a young again. Such an example of switching body has been documented about a young non-yogi kid. Both kids died at the same time in nearby locations, but one body was severely damaged and the other body was in good condition. Yogi cannot be killed. St. Paul Brunton described in his book A Search in Secret India about a demonstration by yogic powers of Narasingha Swami in a Calcutta University auditorium arranged exclusively for scientists and medical men. Among the audience, Nobel laureate in physics Sir C.V. Raman was also present. Swami was given sulfuric acid, carbolic acid, and potassium cyanide one by one on his palm, and he leaked all of them by his tongue, with nothing happened to him. Then a glass of broken powder, and Swami swallowed the two. 3 hours later, one of the Calcutta doctors pumped his stomach and found in his stool. These examples demonstrate and prove the existence of soul. They also show that our soul controls our brain, and the soul has immense power to perform only kind of miracle that you can imagine. There are many such stories in Vedas and many other religious books, particularly in Judaism, because they demonstrate that Even modern yogins can learn and unique, very advanced level yogic powers. Cause and effect. Just like the environment of Earth is completely filled with oxygen and nitrogen molecules, similarly, the entire universe is filled with two kinds of objects: root material and root cause. Both are tiny invisible particles. Modern science knows about the root material and is still looking for it. The science, of course, has ignored the root cause, which is the soul, as we will discuss later in Sankhya verse. Thus, the soul theory is the significant departure of breakaway point for the modern science. श्रीयकांताय कल्याण निधे निधेतराम श्री वेंकटनिवासाय श्रीनिवासाय मंगलम मंगलाशासन प्रेम दाचार्य पुरोगमे सर्वेश पूर्वैराचार्य सत्कृतायास्तु मंगलम.